The Essene Gospel of Peace book series, ladies and gentlemen, there's 4 of these little books. They're about 55 to 65 pages each, approximately. These are very profound little tomes of wisdom, and I talk about these books semi-regularly, and I recommend that you read them because I believe that they can really enrich your life. These books, what's interesting about them is that you can kind of take on the role of the person being healed in the books by Christ. You can kind of, I don't want to say role play in a sense, but you can absolutely undeniably partake in the activities that are contained within that book and experience them directly. Now that book's about fasting, ladies and gentlemen, and removing the influence of Satan over the mind. Now Christ goes on to explain to the people that he's attempting to heal. He goes on to explain to them what Satan actually is. And he goes on to tell the people that he's healing that Satan is a collection, a conglomeration of worms and parasites that have made their way into the body of man and womankind's body and mind. We are indeed overran by parasites to a large extent, ladies and gentlemen, but it's not just the physical parasites that get into our body. It's the mental parasites that we get from listening to the Archon. It's the mental parasites that we develop by being raised in a culture that is completely out of alignment. You see, when you were born, you were brought into a world that was heavily, heavily, heavily wrought with evil, ladies and gentlemen. So in a way, the whole phrase, you're born into sin, is correct, but it's not correct in the way that the average Christian or Catholic believes. It's not what most people think. You're not born a sinful creature, ladies and gentlemen. You're born into sin. You're born into a world that is heavy with evil. And as you develop in this world, and as you're exposed to it, as you go through the school system, as you watch all the garbage television and all the nonsense, you become a heavily indulgent creature. And there's just a process that happens, ladies and gentlemen, when you live in this world, with all the peer pressure and trying to fit in school, and you kind of just forfeit a lot of your childhood dreams to go through the system. That's a complicated subject, and I don't want to get into it, ladies and gentlemen, but if you read the Essene Gospel of Peace Book 1 and you read it with common sense and not your intellectualism and, oh, I'm so smart, even though I don't have my common sense. If you can read between the lines, which many people fail to do when they read scripture, when they read religious documents, you name it, you'll be able to see that Christ is not just talking about the physical parasites that get in us. He's also metaphorically saying that our minds have been overrun with evil, and it has shaped us into these out of alignment creatures that have fallen away from the grace of the angels. So I know that angels are a real thing, ladies and gentlemen. I've experienced them during my first full-blown Kundalini experience and a handful of experiences after that first experience. We were actually designed, you guys, to have the Kundalini moving through us constantly, which keeps us in a state of perpetual renew, but we're in the land of the dead. Part of being born into this world is living in a world wrought with death, and your job as the alchemist is to bypass or figure out ways around this evil culture. So that, again, I don't want to make this some huge rant, ladies and gentlemen. All I'm saying is that pretty much every fucking religious document of antiquity, you name it, will say that this world is influenced by evil. The Gnostics were heavily privy to this, ladies and gentlemen. Christianity is, hints at this heavily as well, but modern Christianity, in my opinion, it's just been handed down so many times through corrupt kings and queens that you don't really know what you're getting and how much of it is actually genuine. Regardless of that fact, you can read that book and the Bible, and derive a lot of benefit from it. I would suggest looking through the Nag Hammadi scriptures that came out of Nag Hammadi, Egypt, the Gnostic texts. Gnosticism, in my opinion, of which I am a Gnostic Christian, and this is just my opinion, but Gnosticism is what you want to be looking into. Gnosticism requires that you don't just read knowledge and absorb knowledge, which is what many people and not everybody, but modern religion is, all about degrees, and I went to school to become a priest or this, that, and the other, and all this nonsense. My problem with modern Christianity, and I don't have I'm not against it per se. I think that a lot of people who are Christian mean well. But one of the biggest problems with the ways that Christianity is portrayed to the public nowadays by all these corrupt, bought out churches is that it doesn't really inspire you to live like Christ. It doesn't really inspire you to live with wisdom, and wisdom to a large extent is knowledge put into action. You can think of it like collecting knowledge is like, or acquiring knowledge is kind of like going out and finding wood to create a fire, but wisdom is, igniting that fire and experiencing the heat and the flames and the magic of the fire. But a lot of people, they just acquire knowledge. They have a giant stack of wood. They've got wood, buku wood, up past the tree, but they never figured out the importance of lighting it. And you've got to light that fire that you collect so that you can see which pieces of wood are actually worthwhile, ladies and gentlemen. See, if you never put your knowledge into action, you'll never know what's correct or not. You develop a sense of what's correct or not by applying these principles. But a lot of people have developed or collected a lot of wood, but winter starts in about a month and you haven't figured out how to ignite that wood. You haven't, tried to dry the wood out. You haven't even covered it. Modern Gnosticism, of which I've taken Gnosticism and created my own kind of religion, if you will. That may sound kind of, I don't know, for some reason, anytime you say that you've created a religion, people think you're like starting a cult. I've never tried to create a church or any of that stuff. I just live the way I live. And I'm still not perfect. I'm striving to be, ladies and gentlemen. We are all here in this crazy world. But I've taken things from the Essene Gospel of Peace. I've taken things from Hindu mysticism, Jewish mysticism, the Kabbalistic tree of life. I've developed my own system of Gnosticism based around the Kundalini. So what you'll find, you guys, is that if you study Gnosticism, there's so much out there that's conflicting, so much information. There's so many groups of different types of Gnostics. Gnostics are people who strive to attain Gnosis. Gnosis is illumination. Illumination, ladies and gentlemen, is enlightenment. Enlightenment is Kundalini. So Gnosis is Kundalini. Every secret society that's worth its salt, ladies and gentlemen, knows that Kundalini is the secret of life, because it bridges you to God through the awakened Christ energy, which is the rising Kundalini. When the Kundalini gets to the head, it ignites the flame. You become what you were designed to become, which is a walking angel. Angels surround you when the Kundalini is truly lit or turned on, and Christ talks about this in the Essene Gospel of Peace. So after I had my first Kundalini experience, and then I thought about what I had read in the Essene Gospel of Peace, I went, what the hell? That book's really accurate. And I reread it. And wow. I favor the Essene Gospel of Peace because there's a lot of truth in it. I don't agree with everything in it, however, ladies and gentlemen. But a large portion of it, I do. Because in a way, that book is kind of an instruction manual on how to connect yourself to the angels again. And the angels you truly connect yourself to those angels, ladies and gentlemen, through the rising Kundalini. So I had an experience with angels before I had my first Kundalini experience, now that I think back. And I don't think I've ever talked about that experience. Maybe we'll do that in the near future. That's besides the point, you guys. So I highly suggest buying those books. You can find them online for free, but reading them in physical format is much better. But yeah, you guys, Christ pretty much teaches the people that are seeking him to heal that your body is, the fountain of youth, that your body is the true Bible. He even goes on to ask the people that he's teaching, why do you strive to know God through the scripture written on dead trees when your body is the true living temple of God? What's really interesting about the Essene Gospel of Peace, especially book 1 and 4, is that Christ really hits the nail on the head by metaphorically, he speaks in parables, and he really gets to the message across that your body harbors many secrets. It's kind of like that biblical scripture. I can't remember it off the top of my head, the passage where, I don't know if it's Christ saying it, but For lack of a better term, the quote goes something along the lines of, your father's house has many mansions. I don't remember off the top of my head, but your body, ladies and gentlemen, is the secret of, it's the key to knowing God. It's Solomon's temple. But we're down here in this fallen state in the land of the bottom feeder, and we're not even aware of that. We're literally looking outside of ourselves for something that's within us. What would be a good explanation of that? I gave an explanation of it in my most recent video, Gnostic Christ and the God phone. Go watch that. I think it's like an hour long. So our body is a telephone device between the angelic kingdoms and the Christ energy, but it happens through the awakened chakras, ladies and gentlemen. I call these pylons. When these pylons are awakened from the Kundalini energy rising up the fountain of God, which is the Sushumna, the main energetic channel that runs through it within the cerebral spinal system. As this Sushumna is awakened, the energy goes up the spine and awakens all of the dormant chakra churches. When these churches awaken, there is a frequency that is generated, ladies and gentlemen, that awakens or stimulates the Enochian aethers, the Enochian angels, and they visit your monkey ass. These angels can be seen. They're like, the closest thing I've ever seen to a rendition of these angels would be some of Alex Gray's work, although not that much of it, although a lot of his work is really on point. The geometries of contained within some of Samuel Farrand, I believe his name is, Samuel Farrand, gets it pretty on point with some of his digital art, where he's showing how complicated the energy fields around our body are and these angels. So maybe look into some of his work. But where was I going with that? These chakra churches, I call them, are these pylons. When these frequencies are emitted and generated, ladies and gentlemen, you become an antenna, like a musical antenna, that summons these different kingdoms. This is, in my opinion, what the Bible, or I think it's in the book of Revelation, where it says that the 7 seals are awakened, the 7 trumpets blow, the 7 candles are illuminated. These are the main churches within your spine, folks. I know that's hard to believe, but when the 7 church bells ring, ladies and gentlemen, those are the churches inside your spine. You see, your spine is the bridge to heaven. It's the stairway to heaven. And the Kundalini has fallen asleep at the base of our spine, and now we're living under the jurisdiction of that. So when the Kundalini is asleep at the spine, you exist in a really suboptimal state, and you're not even aware of it. When the Kundalini energy rises from hell, which is the spine, it goes to the top of the head, which is heaven, and then you see through the eyes of Christ again, ladies and gentlemen, the way that we were supposed to. You see, Christ is within you. But I wanted to kind of drive that home. If you look at the roots of the tree, that would be the base of your spine, and the energy of the Kundalini is supposed to be at the top of the tree. But Lucifer, or Satan, fell. The serpent fell asleep at the base, and it's our job to rise it up again, at least in my opinion. And if you read Gnostic texts, if you read these, even scripture from mainstream Christianity, if you read it with an open mind, and if you read it with common sense, you'll find that there's a lot of Kundalini references. And most Gnostics, ladies and gentlemen, would agree when I say that the serpent, most Gnostics believe that the serpent in the Garden of Eden was actually the good guy. The serpent in the Garden of Eden is much like Morpheus offering the red pill, which is the garden or the apple of Eden. In fact, if you look at Morpheus's outfit in the Matrix film, if you zoom in, it looks like crocodile skin, it looks like snake skin. This has a lot to do, in my opinion, with the serpentine energy, the reptilian energy, as well as the Sobek or Sebek from Egypt reference. But that's besides the point. We'll go into a detailed account of that in the near future. The reptilian energy is something that's highly misunderstood. And most of you guys just believe what you're told. You're like a sponge that just absorbs whatever goes into it. You don't try to block the poison coming in. So you just buy into these ideas that reptilian energy is evil and this, that, and the other. The idea that reptilian energy is evil, ladies and gentlemen, is like intergalactic prejudice, if you will. Reptilian energy is not evil. There's evil and good in everything. I'm not going to say that, excuse me. So we're going to maybe do an Essene Gospel of Peace book 1 decoded. If you're interested in seeing something like that, let me know and I'll read through the book and explain the passages to the best of my ability. But I think that you should pick up the book tonight, buy it, get it shipped to your house and read it. And if you're interested in learning more about the Essene Gospel of Peace and why I think it's such a special book, check out our books. Check out my videos, not the most recent 2 videos that are over an hour long. Gnostic Christ and the God Phone, and then there's one before that. I can't remember the name of it. Maybe I'll do my best to remember to put the links in, but I probably won't. I always forget. But God, there was one more thing I wanted to say. What was I going to say? There was something that I wanted to include. I don't remember. Peace out, guys. I wanted to personally thank you for watching my videos and contributing to the growth of my channel. I could not do this without you, and your interest in my content is truly what motivates me and fuels my passion for making these videos and spreading my message. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I wanted to remind you that this channel is a free educational tool that is listener supported, and if you would like to donate to my channel and donate to my cause, help make my life a little bit easier and help keep the lights on around here, you can do so by checking out the links in the description box below. There's a handful of not only ways to donate to my channel, but I also have links to different websites and different videos of mine, as well as my Amazon store, where you can check out a plethora of different health-related products that I use and recommend. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your continued interest in my message, and until next time, peace be with you all.